So my story starts at 10 years old. I'm going way back. I'm going back 30 something years because that is the time or the age that my life changed dramatically. I was born in Barbados. My mother lived in Canada. My father lived in Barbados. That's all I knew, them being separated. And at the age of 10, my mother, for whatever reason, decided to send me to live in Barbados with my aunt, which was her family. I had no clue why. I still to this day don't know why she sent me there. But I'm glad that she did because at that time period, I was there between the ages of 10 and 13. At that time period, I really enjoyed Barbados. I enjoyed being among children that looked like me, that acted like me, that shared my same ethnicity and culture. And, 10 to 11 formative years. Now, one day, myself and my cousin were walking home from school. This is after a few months of being at school. And we passed by a village on the way to my aunt's house. And a woman from that village yelled out, that is, named my father, adopted daughter. Now, keep in mind, before that time period where this woman yelled out from the street that I was adopted, I didn't know that. Nobody in my family shared that with me. Nobody told me. I knew nothing about that. The only time I found out was when this woman yelled that out in the middle of the street. I was not living with my father at the time. My father was a politician, so he was a minister of education at the time. So I guess my mom didn't want me to live with him because of his schedule. So she felt that it would be more consistent for me to be at my aunt's house. So I immediately went home to my aunt's house and called my father crying on the phone and told him what happened. That was the day my life changed. Why did it change? Because the family that I was growing up with this entire time, I realized at that moment was not my family. I didn't know what to believe. I didn't know if she was lying. I didn't know who this woman was. But part of me was like, okay, maybe I do believe her because she would know. And I guess maybe some kids at the school who lived in that village, they knew and told them my name and she knew stuff that I didn't know. And I almost all of a sudden had all these questions swirling around in my head. Who am I? Where did I come from? Why did nobody tell me I was adopted? Why is it that afterwards no one processed with me? Now keep in mind, I'm 10. I think I was almost between 10 and 11 years old. Think back to yourself at 11 years old. I have an 11-year-old child right now. She's sandwiched between a younger and an older one. She is finding her way in this world at 11. Imagine putting on top of that, oh, by the way, that's not your biological family. On top of all the other issues that I'm dealing with as an 11-year-old, finding my way in this world. Nobody discussed it with me. No one processed, like I said. No one said, Susan, come, let me share the story with you of what happened. Nobody. When I eventually saw my father, he was the only one that really opened up to say anything, but then he really didn't know much, or he said he didn't know much and didn't reveal anything to me. So then I left there with more questions than answers, and everybody went their merry way like nothing happened. Like, we don't talk about Bruno. The Bruno was, we don't talk about this adopted child over here who we're not going to say who her biological parents are because maybe we don't know, or maybe we're not going to share. And we're not going to talk about it and ask her how she's feeling now that she's learned in the middle of the street that she's adopted. It wasn't until years later where I found out, and I cannot remember who I found it out from, that my birth mother left me in a ditch somewhere in Barbados. She put me in a ditch and left me. Now, I don't know what to conclude from that. I cannot speak on her intention because I don't know who she is. I've never spoken to her. But why does one leave a baby in a ditch, a neonate in a ditch, a baby that was just born? And from what I was told, I was a premature baby and the umbilical cord wasn't even cut properly. So I don't know why one would leave a baby in a ditch, but she did. And then somebody who was walking to work or something, or taking the bus to work, found me, saw me, took me to the hospital where my mother was working. She was an anesthesiologist. My mother saw me, she adopted me. It was very hush hush, very quick. And that was the end of that. But we don't talk about that. We never talked about it. Never. So right at that moment in time where I thought that my father was my father and my family was my family, and keep in mind, I'm not saying they weren't, but what I'm saying is biologically they weren't. When I thought one thing and it ended up being another, and I had so many questions, no one spoke about it. And it was at that moment in time that I felt abandoned, especially when I heard that my mother, my birth mother, left me in a ditch. I felt abandoned. I felt like I just did not have a place in this world and like I did not belong. And between the ages of 11 to 13, when I was in Barbados and kind of, making friend groups and everything, because I knew that I wasn't adopted, and because Barbados tends to be like, I'm not going to single out Barbados, I'm going to say a lot of, Caribbean islands, there's a lot of isms. So there's the classism, texturism, colorism. There's all the isms there. Who's your mother? Who's your father? What do they do? Because there was a lot of that, and I was still trying to find my way, and maybe I was trying to make it into a crowd that maybe I felt like I didn't belong to, because if anybody knew my story of being an abandoned baby that was left in a ditch, then I wouldn't belong. And so I carried that shame with me throughout my early adolescence. And then my mother pulls me back into Canada now at the age of 13 years old, not into Toronto or a place where there was a lot of multiculturalism. Oh, no. She brought me to a place where there was very little multiculturalism. And so now I'm the wrong skin color. I definitely don't have the right hair, and all hell kind of broke loose in my life with respect to me figuring out who I am and who I was. And so I just remember that my hair always being a point of contention. I think part of it was because the looser curl patterns, which I don't have, the people that had that, especially the girls that had that, those are the ones that had the most attention. They were a little bit more accepted. And when I came back to Canada now, obviously being the wrong skin color, for the town that I lived in didn't do me any justice. But maybe if I had the silky, shiny, biracial hair, that would have made my life easier. I just remember just hoping, wishing, praying that, it was all about my hair. It was about my hair. I got made fun of a lot because of my hair. It was always, always, always about my hair, if only. And at that point in time, I did have a relaxer. My relaxer, obviously my hair broke when I had the relaxer. It would never grow past a certain length. So at that time, when I came back to Canada in this town that didn't have a lot of multiculturalism, I wanted straight hair. I wanted straight, long hair so I could fit in and be accepted into the school I was attending. So this whole concept of feeling abandoned and rejected and not fitting in and not knowing my place in this world has type of followed me my entire life, and my hair has always been a point of, if I could just accept it, if I could accept the hair that I have, because I wish I had a different texture. I wish I had a softer texture. I wish I had a silkier texture. I always wish I had a different texture, because it would make me feel as though I fit into somewhere where maybe I wasn't supposed to fit in, or maybe it had nothing to do with my hair. I don't know. And again, I'm between the ages of 11 and 13. And so I'm processing this stuff by myself and just feeling as though I just didn't fit in. So fast forward now, a few years later, I'm in my 20s, and again, the hair thing is just not going away. For whatever reason, it's not going away. I went to university, I went to Western, and then I moved to Toronto afterwards, and I got a texturizer. Even though my hair was straightened at certain points in time in my life, I never felt that was the style for me. I always felt like I needed to wear it curly. That felt more like me, like authentically me. It's just that the curls I had were not the curls I wanted, and I didn't know how to take care of them. And so when I was in my 20s and I saw this, salon that was doing texturizers, I was like, sign me up. I'm interested in loosening my curl and wearing my hair curly, because that felt authentic to me. And so I went and I was getting their texturizers for a while. And then all of a sudden I started losing my hair. My hair started falling out. I had alopecia. And I went to the salon owner at the time and I had her look at my hair and I said, what's going on? I think your products are making my hair fall out. She's like, no, they're not. This is alopecia. So then in my early 20s now I'm dealing with alopecia. I think the rest of it is a little bit of a blur because my hair did eventually go back. Now I freaked out. I freaked out a lot. Because again, my hair was important to me and the acceptance of that. If I could just accept my hair, then that would be one step towards self-acceptance. It was always that thing. For some people, it might be skin tone. For other people, it might be weight. It's always something that you're trying to accept about yourself. For me, it was my hair. Desperate to accept my hair. I think I cut my hair off or I just waited till it grew back. I don't know. I think it's just a little bit of a blur, but it was always a problem. And finally, when I decided that I was going to cut off the texturizer and embrace my natural hair, I went to a natural hair salon. At the time, I don't think it's around anymore, but I went there. They specialized in natural hair. The stylist cut my hair, which was fine. And then she turned to me and I remember her distinctly saying, "Is your hair always this dry?" Now, keep in mind that that is a pretty benign question. I mean, I ask that question in a different way with my clients sometime. But at that time when she asked it, it was I felt it was an indictment against me. Like, you don't have the good hair texture. Your hair is a problem. That's how I took it. I'm not saying that's how she meant it, but because of the lens that I was viewing everything through, of not fitting in and not knowing who I am and wanting to embrace my hair, what she said didn't help. So I freaked out and I went back and I got a texturizer. I got my hair texturized again from her and wore it short for a while. And then eventually it did grow out longer. But I think in that time period of my last texturizer before I completely chopped my hair off, I didn't really worry about my hair. Because I had the curly hair and I had the long hair that I could blow dry, straighten. It's long if I wanted to. And I had that, but guess what I didn't have? I didn't have my health. I didn't have the health of my hair. It was stringy. It was falling out. There was a lot of issues with it. And so now that's when we fast forward to now when my first daughter was born. She is now 13. When she was born, that is when I finally said, okay, she was the only person in this world I knew that shared my DNA at the time. It was important to me that she did not go through the issues and the complexes that I went through with respect to accepting my hair. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my hair off because I want to show her what it looks like to embrace her natural hair when she gets older. I want to be an example for her. And so that is what inspired, she is who inspired Earthtones. But Earthtones came about for me to learn about my type 4 hair, the nappy, hard, brittle hair that I was supposed to have had, the hair that when you speak about it, it's in disgust. That's the type of hair that I needed to learn more about and appreciate and accept because that was my step to self-acceptance. And so my eldest daughter, Nisa, inspired the line, but it was more for me to stop stressing and worrying about my hair, to just accept it. And that is what happened. So Earthtones, the Earthtones product line is about so much more than just creating products that work for curly hair. I'm going to get a little bit more specific and say that I created that brand for myself. I created this brand so that I could move through this world showing up as the person that I meant to be. Now, I still have work to do, but one of my steps to acceptance was this. And so that is what this brand is all about. That is my why, because there's more to it than just the products. There is the self-acceptance. There is the love of my hair that has happened since understanding it, embracing it, and using the correct products for it to bring out the best in my hair. And every time I see clients at our boutique and they have type 4 hair and I tell them, oh, I have type 4 hair. They're like, no, you don't. I didn't do anything with my hair today to show people that I do in fact have type 4 hair. This is just all that's in my hair right now is hair butter. That's it. I'm usually with super defined curls because of jelly, but not today. I just decided, let me just put hair butter in my hair. So you can see this is my hair. And I've grown to love and accept it in the past. I've been a product formulator. I've been doing this for 13 years now. 13 years I've been doing this. And not one time in that 13 years have I looked at someone else's hair and said, I wish I had her hair. I will look at someone else's hair and say, I love your curls. Your hair is beautiful. But I don't wish to have someone else's hair anymore. And that was big for me. And that's how I knew that I had my transformation, because this is what Earthtones is all about. The transformation that happens when you see your curls for the first time. You see the potential of your hair for the first time. When I tell people you have a beautiful texture and you have a beautiful curl pattern, what do you think they say to me? They say, I don't see it. I don't see it. I'm here to tell you, I see it. I see it, and this is what Earthtones is all about. It's about helping women, sometimes I help men as well, children accept, appreciate, and eventually love their natural hair and transforming their perceptions of their hair. That's it. That is what I do.